Man, I'll tell you what, I kind of miss uploading more consistently here on my main channel. But I gave you guys a warning. I did. And it's nothing, absolutely not on you at all. But I said that I would not rely on Call of Duty anymore. I've got to the point in my career where I want to do more of what I enjoy, even if I make less money, and that's fine with me. And that's what I've done. I haven't played COD as much. I haven't uploaded it as much, and that definitely directly relates to less uploads on this channel. And right now, today, I wanted to do an old school commentary style video to talk through some stuff with you guys. And of course, I'm throwing COD in the background. But this channel has been mainly kept as a shooting game channel, because that's what I like. And even on my second channel, which I upload once or twice a week as well, I do not advertise it to this group of people, because I want that to grow organically and have people that enjoy that video content for what it is versus coming from here going to there type of thing. You know, the second channel has been kind of dedicated to any game that I enjoy. And I've done, you know, Diablo on there, God of War, some first person, or some, story games, but also I've done a lot of first person extraction games on there. You know, Delta Force has been a big part of my, I would say, my content for like the last year. And it's great to work with those developers, and the game I really enjoy. I have 3,000, I would say 2,500 hours in the game, safely, I can say that. And it's a lot of fun still. The combat's fun. You know, is the game perfect? I never say a game is perfect. There's always room to work and improve. And that goes for anything, not just a game. My content, life in general, right? Like anything you can apply that to. So I would love to see Prox Chat be added into Delta Force as a good example. But for now, I still enjoy the game a lot, and I play it a lot. But that's not the whole point. That's not the whole point. I still think that Black Ops 7 is a decent game. It's a decent game. Is it amazing? No. I would say a big issue with Black Ops 7 right now is the AI banning of people, voice comms, and in-game, like shadow bans and stuff. That's an issue. I would say Call of Duty is suffering a lot right now purely because there are so many other games out that are good. And the fatigue of the franchise has definitely hit a lot of people, where even if they make a decent game like we're having right now, you know, we get constant updates every week with new items, new guns and stuff. I find myself still not really interested in signing in and dealing with the game. And when I say dealing with the game, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but realistically, playing mouse and keyboard on COD is frustrating. Playing solo on COD, or even in a two-man, is kind of frustrating. And the franchise itself does not give you a good experience, whether it's through their matchmaking system, or for me, as I said, just a mouse and key player dying to aim assist. Even with aim assist reduced in this game, it's a night and day difference when you go play a game like Delta Force every day, 10 hours a day, and you see actual aim from players where they might miss a shot or two, or you can do something to make them miss, and then you come play COD where it's almost just impossible to miss. Like, I mean, realistically, the good players just don't miss on you, really. And so, like I said, it's just a night and day experience where you're like, holy shit, get me away from this for a bit. But, as I mentioned, that's not the only reason. Call of Duty is competing right now with, at least for me, Delta Force, Arc Raiders. I mean, for a lot of people as well, you can throw in Battlefield, which I would say their player numbers have dropped a lot in Battlefield, especially with the recent announcement of their seasonal release being kind of underwhelming. But Call of Duty typically and historically really didn't have much to worry about up until Fortnite. I mean, really. When I grew up, Call of Duty and Halo were like the big competitors against one another. And then Battlefield came in, maybe a little bit of Medal of Honor sprinkled in as well. You might see some Tom Clancy competing there, but it was more minuscule. And over time, those other games dropped off, and Call of Duty kind of stayed there. And they really didn't have to worry about anything, frankly. Fortnite, I mean, absolutely trounced them, destroyed them. And as dumb as it sounds, I think most players are still on Fortnite and like Roblox and stuff like Minecraft. You know, they're not on shooting games, or maybe they're on games that can be modified to be shooting games, but they're not on Call of Duty. Call of Duty's $70. and it's a large investment compared to Arc Raiders, $40, Delta Force, free, whatever you're going to be buying. Or you like the large-scale war modes of Battlefield, and Call of Duty doesn't offer that. So Call of Duty numbers are down, especially on PC, but even down, I would say, on console. Every week there's tweets going out saying, COD is number 2 or 3 or 4, or number 1 even sometimes, most played game on console. And that's just from the years of them dominating the space, but they are still in close contention with other games being released on console, especially Fortnite. So, the best way to word this, the competition has been raised. And Call of Duty, despite, like, as I mentioned, being a good game now, at least I think it's a decent game now, especially for the COD franchise, it hasn't elevated anything to the point of this is why you should play it, right? The ranked mode just got released in Season 2, and despite me not caring about ranked, a lot of people do. I do love the weekly updates they're doing in Black Ops 7. That should be a standard in every game from now on. But just having weekly updates, just doing some crossovers with popular intellectual property, it's not enough to suck people in. And frankly, it's not enough even for me as like a career Call of Duty player. I enjoy search and destroy in the game, but it's still not a fun experience to play solo. It's still not a fun experience when nobody's talking. It's still not a fun experience when people are getting chat banned nonstop. It's not a fun experience getting cheated on, which happens as well. I would say cheaters are a bit less overall, but it's not perfect. And it never will be, really. But I know the ranked guys are really suffering right now. Cheating is still a major issue. And it's a major issue on console as well. I know people are saying, PC is the problem. Sure, maybe early on. Having PC with crossplay on has been more of a problem. But Fortnite set the standard for that. Every game now has to have crossplay. Basically. Because Fortnite did it, and they were super fucking successful. And it worked for them. Although their anti-cheat maybe was better. In Call of Duty, though, people are turning crossplay off on console, and they're still cheating. They have, like, their DMA, they have a DMA device with, like, AI, wall hack, aim hack type shit. There's tons of clips on Twitter, and a lot of the competitive community is still pissed. Not to mention the small amounts of cheating. Or I would say small, but less. You can use the Cronuses or the Zens or the Zims or whatever all these acronyms may be to cheat on console still. And so console cheating, still a problem. Black Ops 7's biggest mistake, though, honestly, is probably thinking that the Omni movement and the wall jump was enough innovation to keep people playing or bring them in and have it be interesting. I think the Omni movement actually isn't liked from the community. And I have a thought process on this. At least I don't like it that much. As a mouse and keyboard player, it's very hard to track people changing speeds at full, or changing directions at full speed. And I think that was also a really common complaint and issue with Advanced Warfare, where, in AW, you had that boost on your exosuit, and you could jump forward and then boost left, boost right, boost back, and you would basically just break ankles. And AW was not well received in the Call of Duty community. That was even when COD still had their fist on the FPS genre. They just held everything down. People didn't like AW. And you saw Black Ops 3 get made, where, yes, there was still Omni movement. Yes, that was still like a part of the game. Or I say Omni movement, but wall jump, wall run type stuff. Except the movement of the game itself was smoothed out. You no longer had these very jarring transitions at high speeds. It was more of, like a wave almost. It was easier for people to track and understand and follow. And BO3 was well received. It was well liked by the community, myself included. I don't really think that people are in love with the Omni movement. I don't think the wall jump is bad. I think that actually works relatively well in terms of movement and being smooth and not ridiculously jarring most of the time. But I would say Omni movement was a mistake for the COD franchise, for BO6 and BO7. Obviously, another very large part of their success and their failure has fallen with Warzone. Warzone started off great back in 2019, 2020, and it still held on to a decent amount of their player base for years, but they haven't really done much to make it more successful. They have made a few new maps, which people frankly didn't like all that much. They changed the meta here and there, which I think is good for the game's health. I wish they did it more in multiplayer. But Warzone hasn't changed, and frankly, as far as a battle royale goes, I think it's extremely underwhelming. To me, a BR game and an extraction game heavily relies on the loot that you find and obtain from other players. If you were killing people in Fortnite, for example, and you got a gold scar off them back in the day, that shit was hype. If you got better weapons and found better loot as you progressed through the map until you had full kits basically by the end, that was great. It felt like a sense of progression every game. Getting stronger, you know? And then if you go play Warzone, and this has been a problem for me forever, but I'm not going to say it's the reason it's failed, but I think maybe one of the reasons people have found it less enjoyable is because every match, you basically land, you loot 10 grand, and then you buy your own loadout every single time. And there is nothing in the game that is going to surpass the custom-built weapon that you built. And so you have the best gun every game, every time, within about 3 minutes of landing in Warzone. Which means whenever you kill players, the loot doesn't fucking matter at all. Not really. There's almost nothing that you would ever get excited for off of killing anybody in Warzone. You have what you want almost instantly. And so loot value in a BR, when it doesn't matter, to me is the BR is boring. Same with extraction games. A large part of the extraction game playability or the game cycle itself is, you know, go into the map, try to find better loot, kill players, get their loot, and extract and take it back to your base. If the loot part of the game doesn't matter, then you're basically just playing a glorified team deathmatch, which is, to me, what Warzone really is. So, we'll see if Blackout changes that. I think Blackout is probably the best version of a Call of Duty BR game ever made. It's very similar to PUBG, but I think it's more refined, better movement, better fluidity, maybe, because it's the Call of Duty franchise and the COD movement in games. I mean, we'll see if that does, move the meter a bit. I do think that Blackout was probably the best chance of COD having a long-term successful BR, even with Warzone being as successful as it was. The problem really was Blackout was first off, I think, in BO4, which at that time you're competing with Fortnite. Pretty difficult. And two, it's not crossplay. I don't think there was any crossplay back then at all. And so people that played on PC, even if they wanted to and liked it, also wasn't free to play. That was a big one too. But if you wanted to play on PC, there was just no games. You had to play console. And so, yeah, I mean, it just didn't really work. I think Blackout now probably has a better chance if you include crossplay with it, if you make it free to play, as it will be. And I think it'll be, you know, where loot actually serves more of a purpose, which is what I argued for years ago with the devs. And they actually, most of them agree. But to be fair, a lot of the Warzone players didn't like it. They actually like using the same boring loadout every time. I don't understand it. You gotta ask them. I think it's fucking so boring, though. Anyways, we'll see if Blackout will move the meter, will move the line at all, and maybe bring some people back to Call of Duty. I'll definitely give it a shot. We'll see how it plays out, though. I'm more interested in that than I pretty much have ever been in Warzone, though. As I mentioned, looting is a major part of a BR, and if it doesn't matter, then the BR, to me, it doesn't matter. So, personal issues with COD. I gotta say, from a personal perspective, I maybe have outgrown the franchise a little bit. I can say a lot of us probably have if you're watching this video. You know, maybe you played for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years like me, a little bit more. And you just don't really have the same enjoyment that you derived from it originally. Whether that's because you moved on from controller and now you play more mouse and key. Whether that's because your friends maybe moved on and now you're playing more solo duos, trios, and it's not as fun as playing with a full 5-6 man. Maybe it's just you have other games out there that you like more right now. Arc Raiders, Delta Force, Battlefield. I mean, shit, even first-person games, whatever it might be. But I do think that Call of Duty, to me, hasn't really evolved much over the years. And normally, I'm kind of fine with that. Normally. But I would say they actually devolved. And I think back to my time playing years and years ago. When you used to die, first off, Search and Destroy used to be 4 rounds, not 6. I think the 6 is fine. But, yeah, it used to be 4. And whenever you would die, you would talk to all the people dead at the same time. Not just in between rounds and at the end of the game. Literally during the game the whole time, you could trash talk to the people. There was no AI voice chatter thing that was banning people for swearing. I do, however, think that, you know, keeping slurs out of the game, probably acceptable. But swearing, totally fine. Totally fine. To any degree. If you want to say the word fuck 10 times in a row, that's fine. It is an M-rated game. Half the characters will say, you know, swear words while you're playing. I think that's fine. Keep the slurs out, though, understandably. I just don't know if their AI system is good enough to actually do it, or whatever system's in charge of it. So, I think that has killed a lot of the enjoyment in the franchise. And partially also, and this might seem really weird, but, and it's not Call of Duty's fault, Discord and Skype, which Skype's not around now, but VoIP programs have kind of killed the community side of Call of Duty, where people used to continually talk in-game the whole time, or a lot of the time. And my friends and I use it too, so I can't really, you know, I don't blame anyone for using it. It's a very handy tool and it's better voice quality. But it sucks when you play, you know, for an hour or 2 hours and you don't hear a single fucking dude speak. And I kind of relate it to World of Warcraft, where like the Dungeon Finder tool became a thing past, well, like TBC or Classic or Vanilla, whatever. And it kind of killed the world. Like, there weren't people traveling around and moving throughout the world. You weren't finding people in encounters. And it's the same kind of thing where, you know, you took what felt more alive because of the personal responses from people and talking to them more often to kind of just like a deserted little island. And you're there, but you're just, people are standing there with you even, and just no one's talking or moving or doing anything. So, it's not Call of Duty's fault. It's nobody's fault, I don't think, but it has changed the game. We'll say that. It has changed the game. Besides that stuff, what else do I think Call of Duty really should have changed on? I got the AI voice chat. I got the voice in general. I talked about the Omni movement. I'm not going to talk about the aim assist. Frankly, I ignore that entirely. That's a personal problem. I don't think that's a game problem. I don't think that's a game problem at all. But if I was Call of Duty, I would probably try to focus. I mean, it's easy to say, but hard to convey. Innovation is what will bring people to your game. The Blackout is a good example. I would, and this is probably just the side of me that's been playing from Delta Force. I swear, when I had a call with the lead devs of Infinity Ward, when Modern Warfare 19 was released, and we were talking about Warzone, we were talking about DMZ, I think it was Modern Warfare 19. Whatever. When DMZ released, it's been years, and I had a lot of calls. I told them that DMZ could be their biggest mode, their newest, biggest mode by far. Easily. I thought a Call of Duty extraction game would be insane. And there was a lot of love for DMZ. Even though it didn't go... I wouldn't even call it a real extraction game. Because loot wasn't... It just didn't even matter. There was no extracting that like got you anything. You basically just reduced the timer on your own gun that you could take in. Which didn't matter at all. When it was actually really weird about that, I saw DMZ footage recently of mobile. The mobile version of DMZ is more of a real extraction game than the full release console one. Granted, they had years to work on it, but if they would have, and I know it's hindsight, but if they would have spent more time building DMZ and listening to content creators that played extraction games, I had a call, I'm not joking, I talked to Landmark beforehand from Tarkov, and I wrote down a bunch of suggestions from him. I brought Chap in, who was playing a lot of extraction games at the time. He was playing Cycle Frontier. I brought to them all sorts of ideas and questions on why they didn't do certain things and what they should have done or what they should add. And here's examples of how Tarkov does it. Here's examples of how Cycle Frontier does it. I think Call of Duty would be what Arc Raiders is right now. I'm not joking. And I know people are probably a little exhausted on the extraction genre, just like BRs have kind of been a little exhausted over the years. But I think extraction games are the next BR in terms of what, at least from my experience playing them and what I feel while I play them, and like the entertaining part of it, the joy I get out of getting out of raid and finding cool items and all that stuff. I mean, here's an example. This is like literally yesterday on Delta Force. I've played for 2,000 plus hours, and I still get excited over some things like this.
God's favorite.
Yeah, I know. Every time I've wasted 6 hours shooting that fucking bitch, it's always been like,
Oh my God.
here's 30. Oh!
Robin, what'd you get?
I don't know. It's 3x3. Oh, Pog!
Oh, nice.
Oh my God, that's a new
shit.
one. So when you see a clip like that, I can explain. It's just a really rare item that I had never found before. In 2,500 hours, I've never found that item. And to me, in that game, the goal is to try to find all the big, cool, rare red items that you can. And you fill up your trophy room with them. And it's fun to do for me. I like looking at it all and trying to collect them all. And I mean, I like collection crap, you know, just like Pokemon cards when I was growing up and all that stuff. But I think that extraction games are the next big style of game. And I thought Call of Duty could, I mean, with the COD name, the franchise, they already know how to make a game feel good when you're running around and shooting and moving and all that. I thought they could have knocked it out of the park. And I'm happy that Arc Raiders is doing so well. But I told Call of Duty, man, if they just would have listened and done what I thought, they would be in the Arc Raiders seat right now. I promise you. Because a good extraction game from Call of Duty would have slayed. It would have been fucking slamming the market. Cross-platform, cross-play. They probably still would have had a cheater problem, let's be honest. But, you know, if they could have built on DMZ, it could have been so good. And I maybe they're still doing it. Who knows? Maybe they're still doing it in the future. I wish I would be able to help with that, but dude, they had a chance, and I think they might have missed the timing because Arc is just owning now. They're doing really good. Despite the fact that I love Arc Raiders and I have fun playing it, it's a very casual game. Like, that game, it is so easy and free to make money with the aggression-based matchmaking system, especially. And some people don't like that matchmaking, just like they don't like skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty, but it is what it is, you know? You gotta pick something. Delta Force, as far as I know, has nothing. There's no matchmaking system, but I don't know. It's good and bad. I think they should actually add something in Delta Force to help newer players easier. But there's a cutoff. I think that should be the same for COD. Once you reach like level 20, 25, whatever, you are then put into the matchmaking pool where everyone is. All skill level of players. So you're protected for a little bit as you learn the maps and learn the game. Because a game like Delta or Arc, you know, any extraction game, it's a front-loaded game in terms of information. You got to learn the weapons, you got to learn the recoil, you got to learn the maps, you got to learn the characters, you got to learn abilities, you got to learn all sorts of stuff, whatever you're doing. Or in Tarkov, you got to level up your bullshit. It's a different experience for each game starting off, but the point still remains that the barrier for entry in a lot of these games in the extraction genre is high. It's you start off and it's frustrating, it's difficult, but it's a learning process. And as you learn to get better, you enjoy it, it's fun, and you maybe like the learning part of it. So, yeah, I wish that Call of Duty did a big extraction game, but we'll have to wait for the future. There's been rumors of DMZ too. It'd be cool, but there's no promise they actually do what they're supposed to in that one either. So, as for now, I'm still doing Call of Duty in a very minimal capacity to upload videos for you guys because I want to keep content going on this channel a little bit. And I still do my main channel, or my second channel, I'm sorry, with Delta Force stuff once or twice a week. And those videos, I mean, they take a lot longer to make for me because it's a lot of content recorded and then probably 10 hours of editing or 8 hours of editing. So I've had fun with that. I'm still doing it. I'm still here. If you guys have been worried, I appreciate your worrying. I appreciate you watching and sticking around with me. I appreciate you watching any videos I upload, really. And yeah, I still try to play COD when I can and when I find the time and I find it fun and my friends are playing, but at the same time, I need Call of Duty to make their game fun. And for me right now, it's not that it's not fun, it's just not more fun than what I'm already playing.